It's the spooky season and I'm making a video. Well, you ask. Glad you asked, even though you probably didn't care or have a choice in the matter. I'm doing a video on Dark Deception, one of the only horror games I've played for the past 2 years. It's a fun game where you run from murder monkeys and duckies. Anyway, enough chit chat. I'll explain the rules. First of all, I'm going to be ranking each level from worst to best based on their locale, design, and how much it scares me. But that could be subject to change later. It probably will. Well, let's get into it before it becomes November again, and this becomes irrelevant, like all my stuff. I accept it. Attention, step right up, ring the bell and win a prize! Oh nice, let's see you won! Oh god, maybe hidden again, it'll go away. Well, coming to none of my friend's surprises, considering how bad I talk about this level, the Clowns rank the lowest of all the nightmares in Dark Deception. I'm sure many people think it's a great level, which I can see parts of it being great, however, I see it's just pretty much an overused trope. Let's see, the location, boring. To be honest, there's nothing wrong with the location, it's just compared to the other places in Dark Deception it fails to stand out. But the Clowns themselves, they're not that terrifying, admittedly their design looks cool, but not that cool. In fact, the larger amount of them is kind of annoying, not to mention the level as a whole. Granted, it's nice, but combined with the boss fight that got annoying to relation, the repetition, and the fact that I died so much, it just sucked. I probably suck. I stumbled so much in that, probably because I didn't want to read this, but I can just edit it out. And from an overdone concept to a hospital that came a decade too late. Torment therapy. Oh, how much I hate Val. Let's start out with what I like about the nurses. First of all, the introduction. It's nice, and the telekinesis ability is nice to have, even though it doesn't really factor into what I like about the level. Now, what I don't like is mostly everything else. For example, the nurses there are not that terrifying, and again are more annoying as their cloaking ability is annoying to deal with. And even though it's easy to tell by looking at the floor because of the particles, using abilities like Speed Booster make it harder to see, and you wouldn't be paying much attention to it anyways because you're running away half the time. At least that's with my play style. Now how about the boss fight? It's fine I guess, not as bad as I remember, but still annoying and quite repetitive, but not as bad. I mean, to be honest, this level combined with the nurse's annoying gimmick, the boss fight that took me way too long than it should have, and the annoying traps that ended up killing me more than the nurses, this was kind of justified in my opinion. Now you have the most confusing pick. I'll see why in a minute. First of all, the Dread Duckies locale is one of the ones I really like, and I mean really like. The concept of ducks in a sewer is so simple, yet it works really well. Not to mention the sewer is a good environmental hazard, as it inhibits your movement, stopping you from easily using Speed Boost to get away. As you can tell, it kind of has like a bit of a charge up, but it's like you can still get away with it, but like it's really hard to. Like, it takes a minute for it to speed up. Also, the duck designs are really nice to look at, even in gameplay. Their Xenomorph, like, bite attack, and it's able to stun you, is sometimes avoids giving you extra danger. However, you're probably wondering why it's only number 6 if there's so much I like about it. Well, the answer to that, 2 things. First of all, the duckies weren't scary to me without telepathy. Even if they unexpectedly showed up, it would take them like a couple of seconds to appear, and even then I wasn't that terrified because even in my old aggro loadout just made it so I didn't really care. I wasn't really sure if I might have made a jump or the duckies aren't scary. Secondly, the level is piss easy if you take your time, pretty much. Guaranteeing you will only either run into 1 or 2 duckies at a time, unless you're doing an aggro loadout like me where you'd run 3 or 4. Oh, we're at number 5 now, and I'm surprised the first enemy in the game made it this high. The monkeys, whilst being the first enemy in the game, are sure as hell don't disappoint. Maybe it's because the locale of the hotel with monkey workers that scare me. Probably due to the narrow corridor, since I'm not the most comfortable with the fact that I have nowhere to run, and the fact that these monkeys since most these monkeys have the added benefit of not being able being able to easily corner me. I hate these monkeys, but love them at the same time. Not coupled with that though is the fact that they can flank you at any point, and they always know where you are, so they're smart enough to go try and block you off. So if you try and go one way, they'll say fuck you, go the other. You try to run back, and there's another one. And to be honest, there's not really much problems with the monkeys. Everyone thought I really hated them because I was always getting annoyed at them, but in fact I've realized how good they are, and how terrifying they can be on a first playthrough. But that's the problem. On a first playthrough. Granted, I still die to them, but the only problem is with the monkeys. They really aren't scary or unpredictable on a third playthrough. Granted, you'll still die to them, but like, the fear factor kind of just goes away. But yeah, to someone who hasn't played the game in a while and then come back to it after a while, yeah, it's refreshing to see their faces in a morbidly terrifying way. Hey, random question. Who here's watched Doctor Who? Great, because I haven't. I don't think I would get into that series anyways. I'm not really much of a Doctor Who fan. I had one person explain the entire lore to me, and I had a brain overload. And this would help in this scenario because I at least know some of the creatures, such as, you know, Daleks, okay, you know, I'm not going to pretend. I only know Daleks and Weeping Angels, but speaking of Weeping Angels, I bring them up because number 4 is them but gold. And way more terrifying. The Gold Watchers are an amazing enemy, both in concept and execution, as up until now you've been speeding through enemies, i.e. the first 2 levels, with relative ease if you just, you know, learn their gimmicks and then, you know, stop yourself from headbutting them head first with your absolute wall of a fucking... I'm gonna stop going on this tangent. But the thing is, the God Watchers force you to pay attention. He'll watch your ears with your eyes as well. These guys will speed towards you, and you so much as glance in another fucking direction. Not to mention, they're not the only thing you should be looking at, since there's also traps here to what you have to avoid. Again, this forces the player to just take it slow and keep the Gold Watchers together, so an action can come around the side of your forehead like it did multiple times when I tried to look over to see if my friend was there. Oh my god, these guys are actually a good love. These guys are actually good. It also makes good use of, you know, using 2 abilities, because up until now, like, you only had 1 ability, but now it also makes good use of the teleport, as you're gonna have to most likely end up teleporting through them if they corner you, and then using speed boost to get away if you don't have really time to turn around and look because of the traps. Well, I've overstayed my welcome here. I ended up going too farther than the script, so you can probably tell. But yeah. It's just your work. Hey, you know what I said about the Gold Watchers and how innovative they were? How do we go back to the brute force style of the gameplay and have it rank higher than them? I'm surprised I got the rank this high. At first, there isn't much going for it. There is only one of them, which is a really big fear factor for me, as the monkeys there were 3. That's the whole reason why I hate them. And the design isn't that spooky either. As some of the others, compared to, you know, like Clown. Well, no, not Clowns. Clowns are the bad example. No, don't disregard everything I've just said in the past minutes. Men in Black Laser Pen. Yeah, no, I'm trying to think of a good one. Probably Joy Gang. Joy Gang's a decently terrifying design. Yeah. I'm going off topic here. I took me way too long to think of them. But apart from that, the locale does do a really good job, despite it being a school. The area gets more and more dilapidated the more you go through the level. Not to mention Agatha herself. She may be by herself, but she doesn't fuck about. Her teleport ability most often lead you speeding into the bitch slap of the century like it had with me when I was singing Deja Vu. You can't get me on doing that, Agatha. Oh my god, I'm just dying right now. It's fucking like 11:15. I'm just recording this because why not? Okay, anyways, boss fight. Her boss fight is kind of simple. It's basically one of the first in the game if you do not count the chef monkeys. But Basically, it just revolves around Agatha rapidly teleporting, and you have to avoid her. Which is actually kind of hard. You have to actually time your speed boost. You can't just use it immediately. If you use it immediately, then it's going to run out, and then again, ditch Lamp of the Century. But, it couples with a good level, decent design, amazing gimmick of Agatha's teleport, and, you know, it leads to one of the most broken abilities in the game, at least. Well, at least in this next entry, I think. That was weird. I haven't been to an amusement park in a while. I don't know why, since there's fun rides, cool attractions, and no, animatronics that want to kill me. Wait. Every time I talk about amusement parks, the main attraction, the Joy Joy Gang, is a combination of wow and oh god thrown into one, as you're chased by 3 animatronics who are quite different from one another. Firstly, we have Lucky, whose speed boost will almost guarantee Lucky to be faster than you. Then we have Penny, who throws eggs, stunning you if you're hit by them, which aren't really that hard to avoid, but to be honest, it's really funny to see Penny go, I gotta catch you right and dirty, and just squash you. And then we have Hangry, who I hated the most, because he just Kool-Aid Man through walls, and I hate surprise jump scares, so this came as a pleasant annoyance to me, but I got over it. These 3 will almost definitely keep you on your toes the entire time anyways. And that's not mentioning the boss fight, which is really good and forcing you to pay attention during it, as they will kill you with lasers and beams and stuff like that. And can also jump to other sides of the ring. And there's also a nice little thing with the pusher as well. You go to get 4 levers and you go to use the pusher. However, there is one problem, but this isn't going to really knock it down. The fact that teleport can break most of the level. Literally, you can pretty much circumvent 2 zones having nothing chase you because of teleport. In the first zone, before the door shuts, you can teleport past it, meaning that, the enemies do not spawn, meaning that Lucky and Penny do not spawn. Second of all, after Hangry's little chase thing, and you're in the 3rd zone, you get all the shards, when you do the boss fight, you can just skip that, because you can just teleport through the door. Same pretty much during the 2-minute long chase thing, where you can just teleport through the door and circumvent it entirely. I don't have footage of it, because my footage of Joy Joy Gang crashed, so I had to borrow someone's. I'll give them the credit, but like, I don't know, it didn't really take away from it. I didn't use the glitches, so it was still fun. Anyways, on to number 1. Well, here you're at number 1, even though I just said that previous entry. And for those who know the game, and you've pretty much been keeping track like the sweats you are, or probably not sweats, probably not that hard to tell, you'll know what's here. Mario makes it to number 1, surprisingly, and for good reason, too. As unlike most other levels, at first you have to play more strategically to avoid death, as you have nothing, slowly gaining your abilities back. Whilst bears hunt you down and they don't fuck about either, as they are smaller, and rip explode, on top of being faster. Not to mention, there's about 50 of them. A lot more than 50. I mean, there seems to be an endless supply. Motherverse seems to be making a fucking factory of these things. And the locale as well, it surprisingly differentiates. It goes from an old house, pretty much reminiscent of Goldilocks with the 3 bears, turning into a very, like, not really spooky, just a cave, like a nice cave aesthetic. And where you're forced to pretty much use the first 2 abilities you have in your arsenal, invisibility and teleport. Well, invisibility and primal fear to escape. Because you have to, this is what it means, you have to play more strategically until you get speed boost, because then you're pretty much safe. Yeah, don't fact check me about the Goldilocks part either, because, like, I don't know fairy tales that well. Even in the game, like, goes back to normal, the bears are still a threat, and not to mention Malak. He fucking steals the show the entire time, because unlike Beerus, who constantly just, I don't know, I can't really put into words what Beerus does, but like, she's kind of, naggy, and then talks down to you. Malak does that, but way funnier. Malak's just entertaining throughout the entirety of this, as well as the fact that he actually makes some convincing points related to offers. Granted, he still wants your soul, but he is kind of, you can honestly tell he's not lying here. you would actually give Doug what he wants. But you can't really make it better than that. I've already banned me from using any kind of lore-related lines, so it doesn't really bother though. I just wanted to talk about it. Anyways, even the boss fight is great as well. I keep jumping back and forth, but the boss fight is one of the better parts of this. This is actually a good boss fight, because you've noticed I've kind of ragged on boss fights for most of this. But Mama is actually a good one, because she actually has varying attacks. She has a slap attack, like a spin attack, a spike ball attack, an attack where she just comes out and starts slashing stuff, when you have to, guide the bears in and then use them as improvised explosives against her. It's actually kind of good, and couples with like a final chase at the end using some of your abilities to escape. I also tried to cheese it with teleport, but we're not going to cut to that. Just want to say thank you to those who joined me on this playthrough of Dark Sections. It kept me motivated to make this video. So it's very stressful to make, his entire segments of footage gone, like I said, with Joy Joy Gang. It even happened with Duckies, but I didn't mind redoing that one. But it was worth it. So, see you guys next time on when I presumably do a music thing, because I want to do one with Hans, or, some other video that I need to do.